Well, I'll start off. I'm excited everyone's here. My name is David Weiss. I'm with Waldo Photos, and I'm going to give you the introduction today. Thanks for joining the Digital Word of Mouth Marketing for Schools webinar presented by Truth3 and Waldo Photos. And I'll give you a little introduction about Truth3 and Waldo Photos. But first, if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation towards the end, we will have a Q&A section. So there's a chat feature on Zoom. You can ask your questions there, and I will take note of them, and we can answer them hopefully at the end. So the first thing I want to do is introduce you to Truth3. Truth3 Consulting helps independent schools and summer camps design their ultimate enrollment through digital marketing strategies. Those strategies include search engine marketing, so think Google ads, social media marketing, so think Facebook and Snapchat ads, and search engine optimization, so think top organic independent school listings. In all, Truth3 helps bring massive online attention to schools, helps to provide value to interested families through the process, and assists in bringing more new families to a school, thereby increasing enrollment. The next thing I want to do is talk to you about Waldo Photos. Waldo is a photo finding phenom, combining facial and jersey recognition with local awareness and mobile-first photo delivery. With Waldo, every photo of you and your family taken by others is seamlessly delivered to your smartphone via text and app alerts. Whether at your daughter's tennis match, missing your kids at summer camp, on a family vacation, or in your best friend's wedding, Waldo finds all your family's photos and delivers them to you. Trevor, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hey, I'm Trevor Waddington. I'm kind of flipping through the attendees. I see some familiar names out there. You all know that if you've been on a webinar with me before, I don't like boring. I like interactive. So let's keep the energy up throughout this. I know the same thing for Tony and for David as well. So I'm Trevor. My background real quick, I'm a former social studies teacher. I've done admissions, marketing, communications, you name it, in independent schools. I've done it. Started Truth3 5 years ago. I've got a couple other businesses, but Truth3's been keeping us really busy, especially through the last 7 or 8 months. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you all, along with Tony and David, about digital word of mouth.
Cool. Thanks, Trevor. So hi, everyone. I'm Tony. I'm the Chief of Staff at Waldo Photos. I have done a little bit of everything as well in my past. And here at Waldo, I do marketing, operations, a little bit on the tech side, pretty much every single piece of the business I touch. And I've helped our partners raise over $400,000 over the last couple of years by utilizing the fundraising portion of our platform. So super excited to share all the content today. Trevor, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Let's do it. So first, I want to give a quick shout out to the great Rick Newberry. Some of you probably know who Rick is. We've collaborated on a few things, and I used a lot of his research because he really is the godfather, I would say, of word of mouth marketing. And really just to piggyback on his work that he's done to bring you digital word of mouth marketing, or DWOM as we'll call it here. So with the shout outs aside, let's do this. So you ready, Tony? Oh, you got your mute.
Sorry.
Sorry. Good thumbs up always works. All right, folks. CrossFit, Netflix, and Facebook. We've all heard of them, right? So these 3 companies that really exploded into popularity this century. But I want you to think back. When was the first time you heard about CrossFit, Netflix, or Facebook? When was the first time you came in contact with the brand? Was it a TV commercial? I mean, probably not. Was it a radio ad? Not likely. I mean, certainly maybe the radio personality was talking about one of them. Now, the likely scenario was that you were at a friend's house and saw this on your kitchen table or on their coffee table. And what this is, you guys all have seen this. If you guys, I mean, I don't know what the ages of the folks in here are. I'm 44, so this is something that's in my wheelhouse. Maybe for you younger folks, you're like, oh, they actually used to deliver discs. Yes, they did. So if this was on the coffee table, you're like, what is this? You're like, oh, well, Netflix, they deliver movies to you, and they have really good movies. You should try it out, and the likelihood is You probably did. So is anyone actually still doing Netflix by mail? Put it in the chat. Just give me a yes, or you can throw a letter in there, anything. Anybody still doing Netflix by mail? I think we've got some embarrassed people out there who don't actually know, but used to. Oh, good. Nancy, thank you for being honest. Thank you for being honest, Nancy. All right. From time to time. Awesome. Now, you may have also been on, gotten an email from a friend, phone call, maybe you were texting with someone and they said, dude, you've got to get on Facebook. You've got to take a look at fill in the blank with that person from high school who you always wished you knew what happened to. And that's the person, that's the reel that's reeling you in. So of course you looked up Facebook, you got an account, and really the rest is history. Am I right? Now today, Netflix has 183 million, is in 183 million households. Facebook has 2.7 billion with a B, billion users. And in the last year, I am sure that one of the 169,000 Americans who swear by CrossFit have told you, dude, you've got to try this, or do that, you've got to try this. Anybody doing CrossFit right now out there? Again, you can put that in the chat. Who's a CrossFitter? Any CrossFitters out there? What's that?
I said, we've got a couple at Waldo. I know that.
There you go. I'm not one myself. So how did all of this happen? Netflix, CrossFit, Facebook. It was all word of mouth. So again, to keep you engaged, here's what I'd like for you to do in the chat here. And Kimmy, I'm doing more yoga. Good. I like my my yoga as well. So to keep you all engaged, what I want you to do in the chat is to put, what do you want to get out of this webinar? What do you want to learn from this webinar? And as we kind of go through, if there are ways that I can weave this into what I'm talking about, do a little bit of ad-libbing, which can be dangerous for me. I want to do that to make your hour as useful as possible. So as you think about what you want to get out of this, I want you to put those in the chat. So moving on, DWOM is greater than WOM. Now, while word of mouth is absolutely positively powerful, it's a lot more difficult to do now than it was, in the olden days. And by olden days, I mean like 8 months ago. Even if you can go to your kid's soccer game, you've really got to keep your distance from the other soccer moms and dads. For any of you who, and I know we've got school folks on here, but for those people that work in other industries, you may not be going to work at all. And if you are going into work, you're certainly not hanging out by the water cooler because it's one of those high touch areas that you can't go to. And unlike the sports field or after school activities, the waiting room in that after school activity place, what you post online has a much grander reach and sticking power. More to the point, what your parents post have incredible power and stickiness. And that's a big part of what we're going to talk about. I mean, really think about it. A conversation about an independent school at a dance recital is not going to linger in the auditorium, but what you write and post online does. Now, with that, I'll tell you that I love theory and discussion, but what moves the needle is actionable tactics to drive your DWOM strategy. So let's jump in with 5 tactics in a step-by-step fashion to help you power your DWOM strategy. Now, you need a powerful DWOM strategy. We've already said this, right? So if you really, if you don't think, let's do that instead. If you don't think, because I'll convince you otherwise, you need a good DWOM strategy, put ZAP in the chat. If you don't think you need a good DWOM strategy, put ZAP in the chat right now, and I'll call you up later today and convince you why you do need it. I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to move on. So there's a good likelihood that you have the people and the pieces in place to make it happen. You just need to focus your attention on it as one grand strategy made up of specific tactics that should be examined and executed in steps. Now, there are a few ways to go about it, but what I want to do is I want to focus on the 5 steps that you see here. And they are understanding your online reputation, leveraging parents to engage, feel-good community outreach, getting in with the influencers. And let's face it, I mean, when you were a student, when you were in middle school and high school, you liked what was popular. I liked what was popular. So students, still to this day, like what is popular. All right, step 1 of your DWOM journey forward is to understand where you've been. Now, what is your school's digital footprint telling parents, telling students? Your digital footprint, your digital brand story, will it help or hinder the chances you make a family's list to which they will apply? And obviously, you want to be on that list. So first and foremost, and I'm sure this comes as no surprise, your website needs to be updated all the time. And I'm just seeing, is anybody else having problems with the connection? I'm seeing some choppy, I see a choppy video piece here. If anybody is, just let us know. We are recording this, so we'll absolutely tomorrow send it to you as well. So as I was saying, first and foremost, and it's not going to come as any surprise to you, your website needs to be updated. I cringe. I absolutely cringe when I go onto a school's website and something that's kind of right in my face is, here's the 2018 calendar. Like, that was 2 years ago. Or I click on their Facebook and I see the last post is from May 14th, 2020. And I gasp out loud. Once your site is on point, as I just mentioned, you need to make sure that your presence on those social and other listing sites are updated as well. So the quick and the dirty of this, and this is something I've really seen schools fall off in doing, and I'm not blaming them. In fact, I don't do it either, is Twitter. If you have a Twitter account and it's great for SEO, but if you are not using it, take it off of the button box on your website. If you're not using Twitter, if you're not using LinkedIn, take that off of the button box, because people are going to click there. And if they don't see anything, if they have 3 followers, they're going to think, what's wrong with this school? So now that you've got the digital components you control taken care of, you need to turn your attention to those that you have little or no control over. And by you, I'm talking about you, Amber, you, Alexis. I got to move down to I always get cheated too. I'm a Trevor and my last name's Waddington. So you, Vanessa, you, Susanna, Stephanie, what are the things that you control? What are the things you don't control? So unless all of you are teaching every class and answering every email and phone call that comes in, you will have little control over everything else. Now, that said, it's got to be someone's job, probably yours to some extent. It's got to be someone's job to handle and to understand the pulse of the community, both internal and external. Doesn't mean you have to control it, but you have to understand it. Now, unless it's that raving lunatic, or it's that one nasty parent that we always have, maybe hopefully every couple of years and not every year, that's just going to go on and write a nasty bad review wherever it happens to be. It should not come, any bad review, it should not come as a surprise to you from whether it's the internal or external piece, and because that drives the perception. So how can you find out? I'm glad you asked. Surveying, that's the most powerful one, but I could sit here for 5 hours and talk about surveys. I love surveys. I love surveying. I love diving into that data. That's for another day. What I do want to focus on are online reviews, at least for part of steps 1 and 2, as a part of your either existing or budding DWOM strategy. So in addition to data that you can glean from this slide here, or you can go on the internet and find your own, at Truth Tree, over the last 3 years, we interviewed 246 parents or parent sets in the New York City, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles areas. And these parents or parent sets, at the time, they were actively searching for a private school. So of the 246, 231 said they read at least one review about the school or schools that they were researching for their child. Now that's 94%. Repeat that, 94%. Now, as a semi-side note, many parents said that they rated the weight, and I'm using my quote fingers if you want to look up at my video feed, the weight of the reviews based on specifics, particularly as it pertains to their child. I mean, that makes sense, right? And the could be or would be experience at the school. So for example, if a teacher's name was mentioned or the grade that they're going into, or maybe would go into in a couple of years was mentioned, that was weighted heavier, if you will, than maybe a negative review about bullying from 5 years ago. Now, historically, though, online reviews were only found on Private School Review, Niche, Great Schools, Boarding School Review, and so on. Now, your school may have reviews and probably have reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp, just to name a few. And even with more sites out there, we've actually seen a decrease in the number of reviews in total over the last 10 years. Here's an example. At Truth Tree, we looked at 50 schools in 33 states in the United States on Private School Review to see what year their reviews were published. Now, to qualify, you had to serve at least 9 grades, so K to 8, K to 12, or something in between there. And they had to have over 20 or more reviews. Now, the chart you see here represents the percentage of reviews by year between 2012 and 2020. Now, on privateschoolreview.com. Now, obviously, we're not through 2020 yet. What I've seen or what we've gleaned is that a lot of those reviews in 2020 have been with how schools have either have dealt with COVID and not the aftermath, but the reopening in the fall, whether it be in person or online or something in between. So there absolutely still is room for that to grow, but that's where we've seen a huge spike. It would be, we didn't do all of the math, but it would certainly be lower in 2012 without that. But what we do see is a swift decline in the number of reviews on those sites. However, the number of visitors per year has only declined very slightly. So the moral of the story is people are still using Private School Review for their research, but the digital word of mouth is dated, making it less reliable. So knowing this, what can you do? How can you get your community to become more active DWOM ambassadors? And that's going to take us to step 2. So this is where I do want you to get active in the chat. What type of parent is most likely to help your DWOM efforts? Give me a word, give me a phrase, write it in the chat. What type of parent, millennial, ambassador, happy parent, happy, satisfied, graduate parent, satisfied, engaged, engaged, engaged. I like reading these. Volunteers. Good, good, good. You're all right. You're all on the right track. Engaged parents. There's one word I'm looking for. I'm going to give a bonus. I don't even know what I'm going to give. I'll give you a, I don't know, t-shirt and a t-shirt and a tumbler. I'll mail it to you if you get the exact word I'm looking for. And you can go back, even if you already did it. I'm looking for one specific word. Skeptical. I like that one too. 5 seconds. 4, 3. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna go back up real quick. Somebody came close. Jeanette, you came the closest, I would say. Maybe engaged. Next slide. There you go. Happy's not good enough anymore. Happy is not good enough. You need ecstatic. So Jeanette with, I think she said elated or another E word. I forget what it was. But you need ecstatic. I'm happy with my shower head. It puts the water, it gets the soap out of my hair. I'm happy with my car, the brakes in my car. It's likely not until I have to use my brakes in an emergency that I'll be ecstatic that they work. But unless the car manufacturer pings me moments after I stop short of going over a 1,000-foot cliff, I'm probably not going to find a way to thank the manufacturer by writing a good review. Now, if they want to OnStar me and say, "Oh, you're safe," great. Can you say a few words? That would give us a quote. Give us a, yeah, right. So number 2 is leveraging the community to engage. Well, we know they need to be more than happy, right? So now that we know we need parents to be more than happy, and we'll get into the how. Tony's going to get into the how to make them more than happy. So for number 2, let's stick with online reviews and how to get more, because I get this question a lot from schools. how do we get more reviews from our parents? I'm going to give you 2 specific strategies on how to do that. Now, since you're likely not the one hearing how little Johnny is having a great year or the amazing scientific breakthrough Susie's having in science, you need to keep the teachers and staff mindful of the importance of reviews, of testimonials. Essentially, you need to harness and direct the power of parent elation. And along those lines, don't stop short with parents, alumni, current students, past students, well, that makes alumni, past parents. They all have powerful stories to share, and hopefully for the good. So here are a few techniques that you can use to boost your DWOM momentum. Number 1, have the entire faculty and staff add a review button to the signature line. Now, how many of you just cringed? Obviously, there's no cringe emoji. Maybe there is, I don't know. But how many, can we put emojis in here? What emoji? That was my next guess. I guess we can't put emojis. But many of you may be saying, cringeworthy thought. There you go. So by putting that in there, people are like, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. And that's fine. But if you can, if it is in your school's ethos to do something like that, I would encourage it. Now, have it set to only go to internal folks, people in your contacts. Obviously, you're not going to include that in an email that's going out to somebody else, especially in admissions and marketing if it's someone you're trying to attract to the school. Yes, I agree. That would be cringeworthy. But it gives the parents an outlet when they see that. But here's how to do that. What I've suggested, and some of our school partners do this, is that they have a page, it's a hidden page on the website that is essentially has links to niche, private school review, great schools, Facebook, Google, all of those things. So if putting something like the signature line isn't an option for you, here's what I suggest. And this is something I hope every school is doing. In your weekly admission and or marketing email that you send to the entire staff, again, I hope you're doing this. Be sure to remind them to gently encourage parents to write reviews. Then give them the link, when by them, I mean the teachers, give them the link to that page. So when they do get that email from Susie's mom or Johnny's mom and say, wow, that's really great. We'd love it if you could write a review for that. I know some teachers, even with that, are going to be cringing at that. Next slide. There we go. Let me catch up myself. The next technique to get customers, and now I'm getting elbows deep now. I'm going to call them customers. To get those customers, current and past customers, you want to get them to engage. And I hear this all the time. Oh, we post on Facebook, we post on Instagram, and we get 2 or 3 likes, and it's always the same 2 or 3 people. Is this ringing true for anybody out there? And while you maybe write that, and Angie asked, and I know there's other questions, I'm just going to answer this one. What's in this weekly marketing email to faculty and staff? Angie, what I used to do when I would do it, and I encourage others to do, is, here's how many applications we have. Here's how many inquiries we have. Here's what's going on in admissions. Here's who's visiting this week, students that are visiting, shadowing. Whether they have it or not, it's always good for everyone to know those things. So yes, yes, yes. Awesome, awesome. Love those responses. So if you want them to engage, and if you've got the eagle eye and can see this, the only people that are going to engage with this are the young man in this picture, mom, dad, grandma, whoever is following the school, certainly a couple other people too. And then also the grammarians are going to be following this as well, because there's a grammatical error in this fake post that I have here. So how can we gussy up this post to help DWOM, to help SEO, really to help internal word of mouth? You ask a question. Turn this post into a question. You give them a reason to engage. I mean, just look at how many more loves, likes, and wows this fake ad that I created has on the right side because we asked a question. Not to mention how many fake comments it got from, this Facebook generated platform. So it must be true, right? No apostrophe in vowels. Nancy, I am the worst at grammar. That's why I have a whole team of folks here that help me with those things. I did this on my own. So you can blame me and only me. So with So in addition to the question, give them a reason to engage beyond the question. Add some hashtags for good measure. So, and obviously, unlike me, make it more polished and make it more DWOM-tastic. All right. Tony, so question for you. In all the work that you do, obviously, this is the photo piece of it is something that you and Waldo knows really well. And actually, by the way, real quick, Trinity Valley School, which is one of our school partners, I borrowed this from them, this amazing picture. But I digress. In all the work that you do, Tony, is there a quick trick or a specific type of photo that gets a higher engagement rate that you found?
Yeah, definitely. I would say photos that look authentic really get the highest engagement. If you can look at a photo and tell like, oh, that probably came off a stock website, parents aren't really going to be moved by that. But something that shows a kid really having fun and doing something that, cute little kids get to do at school, something that's going to make a parent stop and go like, oh, that's cute, even if it's not their kid. That's the kind of stuff that's really very engaging. And somebody asked a question in here on how hashtags are valuable. So I feel like maybe we should just stop and answer that real quick. Those are really great for kind of discoverability of your school. And we'll touch on that a little bit later with the students and the coolness factor. But that's definitely the first thing that I would search if I'm researching a place is, the reviews and then straight to their hashtags to see what people are posting and what they're saying about it in kind of a more authentic way. It's a little bit more work, but I think you find more value in that. So with that, I think we'll move into kind of the same lines there. This next technique, it's a bit of an extension on the previous one. So getting those same parents who are engaging with your posts to also be ambassadors in online groups is a huge help. As the school, you can and should be sharing helpful content that you create, posting it in all the different groups, but also having your parents share those materials in the online groups that they're in will lend a huge amount of credibility to your school. Parents, on average, I think moms are in 4 to 5 Facebook groups at least with other moms that talk about schools. And if you're sending out a newsletter recap of, blog posts weekly, every other week, monthly, anything like that, having something in the bottom of that says, hey, do you really like this? Click this button to share it to Facebook. That's a big help. And it really gets your parents out there. And like Trevor said earlier, ask for the reviews, ask for parents to share the content. It's also really great to post information about admissions events, and other stuff like that to kind of promote yourself in these groups. But a really good rule of thumb to follow is post 4 informative things for every 1 promotional. This is going to keep everything feeling authentic. It's going to keep the moderators of groups happy. And it's going to kind of establish your credibility with the parents that are in those groups and just kind of keep you from feeling spammy overall. So the 4th strategy that we're going to talk about is getting in with the influencers. So according to some research that was done by Net Imperative, 44% of women are influenced by trusted bloggers. That's a pretty big amount. And I think that's growing as the millennial generation is kind of coming into the childbearing years as well. So engaging with bloggers in your school community could drive a lot of really well-qualified traffic because that's definitely your target demographic. So that same research also showed that 74% of consumers rely on social media when making a decision. So just like those hashtags, people research on social media. I'm personally guilty of this. I buy so many things that I find on social media. So when engaging with bloggers, it's best to have them including you in their long form content, maybe doing like a review of the school or including you, in this sample here, like a guide to middle schools and high schools in Travis County. Being included in guides like that is really great, but then also having them include you in their short form content. So their Instagram ads, their Facebook posts, everything like that. Just linking back to your social feeds is really helpful as well. And the 5th technique, also a Trinity picture, but a different Trinity school. So this technique is geared towards the students. And this is kind of particularly like that middle school and up aged student cohort. But these students are likely to have a lot of pull when it comes to the decision on which school they attend. Obviously they tell their parents where they want to go based on that. And you can be sure that the first thing they're going to do is check out the social media. So while the number of followers is kind of a quick indicator, how well liked the school is, students will definitely dive into the actual photos and posts to kind of get a feel for what life is like there. And this is where those hashtags come into play again, because they're going to research and see, what are the top 3 hashtags that the school is posting with. Okay, let me go over to the Discover side and see what everybody is posting. Another really great way to kind of keep people engaged is having fun contests. And this one here that we posted from Trinity, this is actually something that they came up with while they were doing virtual learning. And it just really helped kind of hold that community together. And it got a lot of engagement on Facebook. I took the screenshot pretty early, but the engagement went up quite a bit on this. So that kind of user-generated content and keeping that fresh is really, really important to kind of having that authentic feel. Also, when a parent sees a photo of their student featured on the school's social media, they're pretty likely to reshare that. They're going to have that proud parent moment and want to brag to all their friends on social, and they're probably going to reshare. And that's the kind of stuff that really starts driving that digital word of mouth communication there. So this kind of leads us to our next point here, that branded real-time photo sharing is absolute marketing gold. If you give parents the opportunity to share stories about their children as they're happening throughout the day, you're a lot more likely to get that quick post to social that really accentuates your school's culture, drives that authentic engagement in the community. Photos really are the quickest way to get your parents talking. They're the most effective in terms of delivering the story. And then the most effective way to get them to do that quickly is actually delivering photos that the parents wouldn't otherwise get to see. Obviously, parents can't come to school with their kids all day, so they don't get to see them doing the cute stuff on the field trip unless they're the field trip mom that week. But getting those photos up quickly, parents are going to flip around and put those on social media. So you're probably wondering, how do you achieve this? How do you get photos to parents right away? It's, sounds like a daunting task, but that is where Waldo comes in. So Waldo is a facial and jersey recognition powered photo sharing app that automatically sorts pictures for schools, delivers them to parents in near real time, and allows for maximum engagement. According to an Adweek survey, 85% of users found that visual user-generated content was more influential than photos posted by the actual brands themselves. So the more you give parents the ability to share their experience and the experience of their children throughout the day in a swift and convenient way, the better your DWOM is going to be for sure. And Waldo is kind of the bridge to achieving this. So Waldo also allows for perfect branding every time. Our platform auto applies the brand filter of your choosing to all your photos, and also auto populates your hashtag. So that's super important hashtag piece we were talking about. You can drop that into the platform, and anytime a parent shares to Facebook, it's going to automatically be added to their post and just really drive up that user-generated content. The app also gives a way for parents to easily interact with your visual content. They get their photos delivered via push notification. They can browse the whole school gallery, really get a feel for the entire school environment, and they can also share their photo stream with up to 6 family members. So it's not just one parent getting the push notification, but both parents, grandma, grandpa, lots of people out there to post on social for you. And another thing I wanted to kind of touch on was our brand amplification research that we've done. So it shows that your parents have 40 to 50 times the reach of your school's business page. And this is due to some updates that Facebook made to their algorithm a couple years ago that actually suppresses posts from businesses and only shows them to about 10% of your followers. So if you have 3,000 followers on Facebook, only about 300 of those are going to see each of your posts. But when it comes to, a normal person posting, everybody in their newsfeed is going to see that. So it really amplifies your brand a lot when you have your parents out there acting as, megaphones for you, and their friends are also probably your target demographic as well. The last piece I wanted to touch on about Waldo is the ROI. So obviously marketing is all about the return on your investment that you can get. So in addition to turning your parents into unpaid influencers online and really promoting all the DWOM, Waldo also acts as a fundraiser. So I mentioned in the very beginning, I've helped our partners raise over $400,000 in the last few years. And a big part of this has been for our school partners, in addition to our camp partners. So you offer an optional subscription to your parents. Waldo keeps a small fee of that and then rev shares back the rest to the school via check every month. So it acts as a really great fundraiser. And for joining the webinar today and being a Truth Tree subscriber, we are actually waiving our normal $500 onboarding fee, making the platform completely free to get on and start trying. So I think Trevor's got some notes as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep the free train going here. So I know some of you have gotten this already that are in the room because you've been to our website, subscribed to our email, and it's a great tool. So what we talked about in the very beginning, your digital brand needs to be on point. And there's just so much stuff floating out there, especially if you're new. You may not know all the stuff that's floating out there about your school. So a great way to get a sense of that is with one of our digital brand report cards. So specifically for you guys, we've created a new URL. Go to truthreconsulting.com/DWOM. We're going to follow up, I think, with an email after this. So if you don't feel like writing it down now, we will push that to you. The catch is that link expires on Friday. So and it takes like 10 seconds to fill out the form, maybe 15 if you're a slow typer. Yeah, we would love to help you out, get you a free report your way. So I'm not getting a page not found. Oh, I don't have it up yet, Lori. We're going to do that as soon as we get off of this. But thanks for checking ahead.
That's quick.
Yeah, I know, right?
Thanks, Trevor and Tony. Lots of awesome information there. And I was watching the chat, there's some great questions. I think the first one was, Tony, for you, is just about what you're talking about from Leanne. She asked, how does Waldo take into account if you have students in your population whose photos you cannot share publicly?
Oh, that's a great question. So we actually have a feature specifically for this called Do Not Publish. And it's used pretty widely in schools. I'd say most of our partners have anywhere from 10 to 30 students who, for whatever reason, their parents have said, absolutely no photos of my student can be shared or in the yearbook or anything like that. So we kind of just run Waldo in reverse. So we upload a selfie of the photo, and any photos that you upload to the platform that have that student in them are automatically hidden. So the yearbook administrator or whoever has access to the Waldo platform on your side can still see them, but they never get out into the public. So they're not in the web gallery, they're not delivered, nothing like that. But you still have the ability, if you wanted, to deliver those to the parent who may still want to delight in those moments. And we also built something in between there as well called No Post to Social, because some parents don't mind if their students in the yearbook, don't mind if people are seeing the photos, but they really just don't want them on social media. So if a student's marked as that, then anytime there's a photo of that student, there's also a little pop-up that says, hey, a parent of a student in this photo asked that you not share this to social media. And then we gray out the social media buttons so that they can't share it automatically. So it's a good question.
Great. And just as a reminder, we do have a chat feature in the Zoom call, and if you have any more questions, now's the time to get them in. We'll do our best to answer them. Trevor, I have a question for you from Sandy at the beginning. She asked, do we need to be on all the platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat?
Yes, it helps your SEO if you have accounts, because it provides a powerful backlink back to your site if you are on them. But you don't have to advertise them or essentially make them very publicly pushed forward. So in the footer, the header of your website, where you may have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the ones that you are using and are active on, yeah, you want to put those forward. But all the others, and I think I saw earlier specifically Snapchat, it also is a comfort factor. So if you're not comfortable, if your school's not comfortable, or there are policies against certain social media sites. I mean, TikTok's, really been the one for the past 6 to 12 months that we get questions about. So what we advertising on TikTok or having a TikTok account that's school-based, we are recommending no, for a lot of reasons, that just simply around the content that can be surrounding that, and not appropriate for kids, or in a lot of cases adults too.
Awesome. I think this one I saw that was interesting, Trevor, for you as well, just quickly, which review sites should they focus on? I'm trying to find it specifically, but I know that was a question that came up.
I would focus on the ones that usually appear on a Google search. So Niche, Great Schools, Facebook, Google itself are ones that I would focus on. I would also focus on ones where you have a disproportionately low number of them. So you may have 45 on Private School Review and 3 on Niche, or 2 on Facebook. So I would focus on the ones that you have the least amount on, to build that up, just so there's some consistency. Because if it's a site and there's 3 reviews, they're either not going to take them seriously, or they're going to take them too seriously, and essentially that becomes, those are more powerful. It almost becomes scripture if there's 3, where if there's 30, it's not as powerful.
And something that we kind of did to piggyback on that is, because somebody mentioned here, that's a lot of sites, parents are time constrained. Yeah. For sure, people are more than likely only going to write 1 review. So what we actually did was rotated through. So for a while, we sent the link to the Google review. Then for a little while, we sent the link to the Facebook review, and just kind of rotated through there. So we really were asking them to only write 1 review, but we just manually rotated which one we were asking them to write a review on, and following that same strategy, starting with the lowest reviewed one and going from there.
Great. Well, here's one from Archie real quick. Does Waldo/Truth3 do consulting for SEO for schools?
I think that's a Trevor question.
Yeah. So Archie, if you head over to Truth3, we do. We do consulting. We do the actual execution of anything digital marketing, SEO in particular. We do local, national, and international SEO, in addition to search engine marketing and social media marketing. And Archie is not a plant. But wink, wink, Archie. Thanks for the question.
And Tony, we'll go back to you real quick. Does Waldo also store photos, acting as a photo sharing and storage site for the school? From B. Somerset.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. So we kind of act as your main photo storage. We've built a really robust platform with tagging features, album structures, smart tags. So, you can use it for marketing, you can use it for yearbook curation, and there's also a web gallery version as well. So you can opt into the parent subscription where we send push notifications. And then there's also just like a traditional web gallery, but it's all filtered and organized, and really great for parents. They've really taken to it. So we are your one-stop shop for that.
I think Vanessa, just after the Somerset, had a question about the process of Waldo. Does the admin of Waldo account upload photos to the platform and then get a parent's notification? And then do the parents get a notification? Where are the photos coming from? Who can make the photos available for parents?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the school uploads the photos, but we've also built out a contributor platform piece as well. So traditionally, it's like yearbook students taking the photos or something like that. But if you think about volleyball games, football games, stuff like that, there's people who get press passes and come and they take photos, and then the school never actually gets those. Or it's a parent who's a photography enthusiast and the school doesn't ever get those photos to benefit from them. So with Waldo, they can actually invite them in to be contributors, and they can just upload all of their photos either on web or on the mobile application. So it's really a way for schools to start crowdsourcing photos. And then in addition to, the yearbook photos and everything like that the school takes. So there's a lot of opportunity there to kind of increase the photo coverage, which is great for marketing.
Great. And here's one more from Isabel. Do parents have to pay for a subscription? And can the school offer that without charging parents?
Yeah, so we have multiple plans there. We have, all the way from the school isn't paying anything and the parents are purchasing the subscription and it's acting as a fundraiser, to the other end of the spectrum where the school says, we just want to cover the cost for all of this. And it's a marketing expense. It really is. So the school can pay for all of the students to automatically be enrolled and get those photos out to the parents. And that's really where we see the most success, is with the private schools that have decided to go that route.
And Leanne has a question about face masks and how Waldo is handling that.
Yeah, if you've ever tried to unlock your iPhone with a face mask on, you know that doesn't really work too well. Face masks have definitely proven to be difficult there. But that being said, we do number jersey recognition as well. So this last fall, we've really done a lot with like football and any other sports. So if there's a number visible on the jersey, we can still deliver the photos. And it's been really helpful because a lot of schools have had to limit the number of fans that are allowed to come to the game. So maybe not all the parents get to come to the game every time, but with Waldo, they can sign up their kid and they can still get the photos from the game. So luckily we had that number jersey recognition built out a couple years ago because we're relying on it pretty heavily now.
And if anyone has any more questions, we'll maybe give them another 10 seconds or so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I just wanted to just say for the URL, if you use lowercase d, WOM, it is now live. I guess our website didn't like the fact that I capitalized all the letters.
And I see one last question there. Administrator approved the photos sent in by the parent before they go live. Absolutely. Yes, you can invite in contributors in a require review state where the administrator will see all the photos and then decide which ones to publish, which ones to hide, and which ones to maybe save for later.
Okay, I think, does that wrap up our Q&A?
If anybody has any questions that didn't get answered that they want to send to me, they can head over to Truth Tree Consulting. At the very bottom, there's a form. You can fill that out, ask a question that didn't get. How can we set up a meeting with your company? Well, I don't know which company that is, but I think you could probably use these URLs.
Yeah. I'll also drop my email here in the chat for anybody. You can email me directly. And then
I will do the same.
Yeah.
Right. And just as a reminder, everyone, we've included these links here to connect with Truth Tree and Waldo in front of you. Should you have any more questions, also their emails are in the chat. And I think that wraps it up. We look forward to hearing from all of you and hope you have a great rest of the week.